All right, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today we have a very exciting guest. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Liv. I'm a romance author, so I've written a few books. The novella Law and Disorder, plus my two books in the Invested in You series, which are called Etched in Stone and Stepping Stone. I also give sex advice for Cosmopolitan, and I am a mental health advocate because I've always had anxiety, which is often portrayed in the characters in my books.
Very cool. It's very nice to meet you.
You too.
So tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into being an author and how you got into the giving out sex advice and things like that to couples.
So I got into being an author. So I was working at a Big Four bank here in Australia, and I hated that job. It was the worst, pretty much. And I have always had that more creative side. So since I was young, I used to enjoy writing short stories, and my mum recommended me to do a course, which is outside of work hours, and it was part-time. So it was a creative writing course, and I started doing that. And I started off wanting to do children's and young adult books, but it just happened to be a coincidence. I happened to write erotic romance instead, which is a bit of a huge difference. And since I do write erotic romance and a lot of sex scenes, that's how Cosmopolitan came about, with writing sex position advice for couples, and that's been really fun. And sometimes when I'm asked to give a comment about a certain sex position, I've had no idea what that even is. So I was once asked about the leapfrog position or the pinball wizard, and I was looking at it and Googling it, and I was like, I've got no idea what that is, but Google was my friend, and it was an eye-opening experience.
So what is it like to write those types of novels? Because
Yeah.
I would imagine just, from not being somebody who writes quite a bit, that it could be a little bit on the difficult side.
Um, I was a bit embarrassed at first, because a lot of romance novels, well, not all of them, some of them have more sweet closed doors type scenes, but mine has scenes where it does have that on the page sex scenes, and I was a bit embarrassed at first, and in a way I still am, I still am mortified by the idea of my parents reading it. Like, there's no way I'll let them read it, but I embrace writing those scenes. I find it a lot of fun. Like, people think that romance authors, it's a lesser genre compared to other genres, because there's that myth that people think that it's very cheesy, and it's it's only for housewives, or that and that it's very predictable for romance books. But that's often not the case, because I write romance characters with real life challenges. Like in Stepping Stone, my main male character has PTSD, and it draws upon my experience with anxiety. And with the sex scenes, people saw a picture that's got all these puns, but I embrace that sort of thing. Like, I love a good pun, and with that sort of thing, I write heaps of puns, like he rose to the occasion, harder than expected, and I just find that sort of thing so funny.
I think that,
Yeah.
people who write generally, and this is just, my opinion, that
Mm.
are able to express themselves with true life or partial parts of true life
Mm,
like you do with yours. And it's kind of like, I would imagine, kind of like a therapy session, sort of, so to speak.
yeah. I find writing a lot better than therapy because since I do have anxiety, I've always gotten, I've had that experience of worrying until all hours of the night, until the sun came up, and about things that would never happen, or if someone hates me, or so my thoughts will be spiraling out of control. But with writing, I guess it takes me more to the present. I'm thinking about fictional characters in a fictional world building that I've made up. So I find that very therapeutic.
And see, I can kind of see how that would be, definitely a therapeutic thing, especially, if certain parts of the character are from personal experience, and I think that also makes it a bit more relatable too.
Yeah, and that's my favorite reviews. I know that authors, like a lot say don't read your reviews, but I read every single one, which I know can also be detriment to your mental health, especially if it's a negative review. Um, but yeah, but I even though so with the main male character in Stepping Stone Marco, he has PTSD, and um so some of his symptoms are anxiety and depression, and I got insight from someone that I know that served in Afghanistan, and he said it's pretty much part of the job that a lot of the soldiers, they do come home with PTSD, and he described some of the symptoms that they might have, like being very jumpy at loud noises because it takes them back there, um, or being a bit afraid to leave the house. And even though I haven't been through that sort of experience, and a lot of people haven't been through that, but a lot of people have been through anxiety or depression because it's something that people have experienced at some point in their lives. So I can bring that aspects of the anxiety, so of I have a very jittery personality, and bring it into my characters.
So how do you go about create when you write a new novel? How do you go about
Mm,
creating the characters, and what process other than like you touched on with the PTSD and
yeah.
getting advice? What kind of things go into writing a novel?
Um, I'm terrible at planning a, not a novel. Pretty much, I just have to know how it's going to end, and then I just make my way, like all that towards the end, until I reach the end. And with my writing style, sometimes I can't often stare at a screen for ages and not actually write anything. So with me, I just have to sort of just train my brain to, whenever I have a spare moment, to just start writing and go. So what I do is I set timers of maybe 20 minutes at a time of nonstop writing, and I don't overthink what I'm writing. So I just keep going until the timer buzzes, and it's actually amazing how much I can get done knowing that I'm racing against the clock. And I give myself rewards at the end of each 20-minute sprints, like ice cream, or I know that's bad for you, but like that's what I enjoy doing.
And see, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I think that
Yeah,
everybody has their own process on how they
yeah,
create things, and I think that people who create things, whether it be writing stories and novels and or build things, I
mm,
think it's a creative outlet, and I think it's something that even if it's just a little bit, that a lot of people need.
yeah, yeah. I think so. I think having any sort of creative outlet is good, or anything that brings people back to the present. So I recently, well, not recently, for over a year, I've been doing the Wim Hof method. I'm not sure if your listeners have heard of it, but it does a lot of cold therapy, like cold showers. And while I'm in that cold shower, I'm just thinking, I really want this to stop now. So it sort of takes me back to the present and not worry about, and the anxiety's gone when I'm in that freezing shower.
And not to mention that kind of stuff is good for you too,
Yeah.
though. You
Yeah.
know,
Like, yeah, anything that brings you to the present, like, um, same with hard, vigorous exercise. So, say if I'm doing a spin class or I'm running at full speed, I'm just thinking, I'm about to burst a lung at the moment and I really need some air. So, like, I don't have time to be thinking about anxiety or whatever silly thing that I'm worrying about at that time.
yeah, and I think it's really
Yeah.
cool that you put pieces of yourself into the characters that you make because we
Yeah.
all deal with stuff like that on an almost daily basis, and a lot of
Yeah.
people just don't talk about it.
Yeah, especially for men, I think it's more difficult for men to talk about mental health challenges. And I donate some of my profits of Stepping Stone to Anxiety and Depression Association of America. That's a mouthful, but and it has a lot of great resources there where people share their personal journeys of what's helped them, well, overcome some of their mental health challenges.
And see, that's very cool that you're able to do that,
Yeah,
and because
yeah,
just from personal experiences, I do have anxiety, and like most people, you deal with depression over your
mm,
life, at certain times, whether it be, if somebody passes or something like
mm,
that, and to see that there are people out there like yourself that are doing things to take people out of whatever reality they're in, even if it's just for a brief moment, and
yeah.
take them somewhere to where they're able to see, this person's going through it, even if it is a fictional character that, the person who wrote it has
Mm.
gone through that.
Yeah. So I think people can see a lot of themselves in my characters and my books. Even if it's not themselves, they can see someone they might know in it. I know that a lot of romances, it's about that happy ending, and that's what my books have as well. It does have the happily ever after, a, and it does have a lot of its fun moments. But I also wanted to address real life challenges too, which people could relate to, and that's what I really love about writing. It's to be able to share um, that my personal experiences, and it's quite personal, but I find it very therapeutic.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. So, in touching on moving into the
Mm.
column writing,
Mm.
what is that like? Because I would imagine that's different from writing a novel entirely.
Yeah, I find it a lot of fun. So I write sex position advice for Cosmopolitan, and it comes with like cartoon figures of people doing it, and I just find it a lot of fun. I've learnt a lot doing that. Like, a lot of it is from the female gaze. So what would um, be good for the women, and it's LGBTQ friendly. So it's a lot of the advice is catered to all types of couples, whether male, female, 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 male, male, and I find it really funny. Like, some of the sex advice or the sex positions that I have made a comment on, and I've googled it, and I think some of them pretty much defies all gravity of how it even works. And when I'm googling it, you pretty much need a diagram to see how it all would work, or like with cartoon stick figures. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And there was one that I was researching, a sex position called the Eiffel Tower, and it took me a while to understand what that even was.
Right? Yeah, and
Yeah.
for writing for a major magazine like
Mm.
that has got to be could be a little bit stressful, knowing that they have such a wide reach that
Mm.
millions of people are going to read those articles.
Yeah. Well, when my friends first saw these articles popping up, they found it really funny. So they were just making jokes and comments like, well, if you have to be an expert at something, may as well be that, or like, that looks like fun, and for anyone who tries. And but I've been really fortunate in my writing career to be in some magazines or some media work about my work and discussing sexual wellness and mental wellness as well. So yeah, and it's good being, because I think there is that stereotype that romance authors are that desperate housewife, or that they're older and they're frumpy. And it's been good to try to bring a bit more glamour into that profession. Like, if singers and actors can be the rock stars on magazine covers, I think authors should be have that too.
Yeah, and
Mm.
I think that what you're doing is really neat because it you never know who it's going to help. You never know what person or couple is going to read that
Mm.
and go, I relate to that in some way, whether it be
Yeah.
the articles or the novels as well.
Yeah, and I do get some funny DMs that slides into my Instagram saying, like, asking, "Do you really give sex advice? I need help." And I kind of laugh at that, but I do try to answer it maybe in a video or a post, or yeah, and it does help, like, couples like maybe think outside the box. Both in my novels and in giving sex advice for Cosmopolitan, especially for couples that's been together for a very long time. So it's good to, um, yeah, it's good to make things a bit more fresh and to try something new.
Yeah, and I just I always wonder
Yeah,
what it's like to be that person on the other side doing what you do and talking to you and getting that insight. It's something that I wouldn't imagine
yeah.
everybody could do, but it looks like it's something that you enjoy.
I do really love it, like being able to think of different ways to describe a setting or a character. And I do want to give something like screenwriting a go, just to keep challenging myself. Have you written much?
I have not. I
Yeah.
am not good at it at all.
I'm sure that's not true.
No, I wish I could say I was good at it. I mean, I just it's something that I'm creative, but I create things with
Mm.
my hands.
Okay, what's your
I work in
creative outlet?
automotive, so
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's something
yeah,
different.
so
Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
I I've remember trying stuff like that in high school, but I wasn't any good.
I'm sure that's not true. But with automotive, what type of things would you be making, or things that you might be doing with your hands, or something like that?
um, where I work, we tear apart cars, put
Yeah,
cars back together, stuff like that.
that would be therapeutic too. Like having to, like, go through that process with uh, um unpacking and then putting everything back together, because everything will have its rightful place.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's one of those things where if you have a nut or a bolt that doesn't want to come loose, you just take a
Yeah.
hammer to it.
Yeah. Well, the places like, I'm not too sure if it's in the US, but in Australia, there's a few break rooms where you can go into a room and you have all this safety gear on, and you have a baseball bat, and you go around smashing things in the room. So, like, um, cups, glasses, TVs, like old furniture, and you just break stuff for half an hour.
Oh wow, no, we don't have anything
Yeah.
like that, but that would be interesting to see.
It is, and you can request your favorite tunes while you're breaking stuff. So I did that once, and it was quite fun, like letting loose and releasing that pent up energy, or something that I might have been frustrated about at that time. So to just go smashing stuff and, like, hitting a baseball bat, like smashing a glass and hitting it against the wall. So it's an experience. So you should do it if you ever come to Australia.
Definitely, definitely. So, what's coming up in the future for you?
So I've I'm working on my series. So it's my Invested in You series. So two books have already gone out. So Etched in Stone and Stepping Stone. And I'm working on my third book in the series, which is it's each a standalone book, but each book is based on a different female character in a IT team, and they work in an investment firm called Stone Corp. So each book is about a different female team member, and the third book is about that third female team member, and it sort of comes in full circle. So, in my first book, it had the male boss and the female employee, but then in the third book, it'll be the female manager, and she's recruiting a new male team member. So it comes in that full circle.
That's very, very cool. Where can people find your books?
Well, they can check me out on my website, livarnold.com. So it has a link to all my books there. Otherwise, it's on all major online retailers like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Kobo, just all of it. Really.
Very cool. And as far as social media, I know you're on Instagram. What
Yes.
other social media platforms are you on?
So I'm on Instagram. So liv_au. It's a username that I've had since a teenager, and I've been too lazy to change it really, like a lot of people. Or it's the same username, liv_au for Twitter, or people can find me on my Facebook page, which is Liv Arnold Author.
Very cool. Well, listen, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to chat with me. I know it took us a little bit of time to get together.
Oh, yeah, and I hope your dog's okay.
Oh yeah, yeah, she is. She had to have some surgery, so she's over
Yeah.
on the other side of the room with
Oh,
a
I'm
cone
glad.
tuckered out.
Oh, what type of dog is she?
She's a terrier mix.
Oh, okay. And how old?
We got her as a rescue,
Oh, that's
and
sweet.
they estimate she's somewhere between 12 and 15.
Oh, yeah. So that's quite scary when you have a dog that's sick, because I've got a dog too, and I don't even think of him as a dog. He's more like a family member or a friend. Yeah.
Exactly. What kind of dog do you have?
He's a Maltese Shih Tzu. His name is Groot.
I like that. That's very cool.
What's her name?
Her name is Allie.
Oh, that's cool. Where's that from?
It's just something we came up with based on her personality.
Oh, that's cute. Well, I'm glad she's better and she's not hating wearing a cone, because I know my dog hates that.
Yeah, I think she at first she didn't like it, but now she's getting a little used to it.
Yeah, like, and I always feel so sad watching him when he's in a cone.
Yeah, it's kind of it looks like they're wearing lampshades.
I know. It's like a cone of shame.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
sometimes I think if you just don't scratch or like bite your wound, you won't have to wear this.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That is it.
yeah. Oh, but I'm glad Ali's better.
Thank you very much. And again, I appreciate the time you've taken out of your schedule to chat
Thank
with me. I know
you.
you're a very busy person.
Thank you, you too. Thank you, Joshua.
You're welcome. I hope you have a good rest of the day
You,
where you are.
you too. Thanks. Thanks. Have a great day,
All
Joshua.
right.
Bye.
You too. Bye.